Everybody, welcome. Come on in. Noles 24/7 Roundtable. You asked for it, I think. Either way, you're getting it. So don't worry about it. This is a live recording. If you're listening to it, whatever, in your car on Wednesday, you missed out because we went live on YouTube. So subscribe to the Noles 24/7 YouTube. Get all these beautiful faces live. It's not just me, Trey Rowland. It's Adam Brown. It's Brendan Sinone. It's Zach Blostein. It's Kevin Little. It's Chris Nee. Guys, it's the bye-week Noles 247 Roundtable. I'm ready to go. How are you guys feeling all at once?
Great. Or am I the only – what? What the hell? What?
All right, don't ruin it. It was nice energy until we had to do the thing that we always do. Listen, everybody's feeling great, fantastic, ready to go. The Noles are 2-0. They're a top 10 team. Expectations are recalibrated. Or are they? We'll get to it in the talk. Things are looking good. Florida sucks. Everything's bright and shiny, and I can't talk because I am that excited. It's good stuff, but listen, before we get down to all the fun stuff, let's pay some bills. And we can't talk about paying bills without Chattanooga whiskey. Everybody's favorite brown swill. They're crushing it in the craft distillery game, as Brendan likes to say. And he's not a liar. Whatever sort of hooch you want, as long as it's whiskey, they make the best kind. They've got that 111 proof. They've got the fancy stuff finished in the Louis XVI port wine casks. They've got limoncello, which Zach has. They've got everything. If you want to get housed in a classy way, Chattanooga whiskey is your best bet. Brendan, you had some sort of anecdote that you wanted to say while you held up a brown jug. Go ahead. I'm sure it's going to go somewhere really quick, and we're going to get right to the point.
I'm going to pour a little bit of Glengoyne 12, which is a Scotch, and I got it through trading different little samples of Chattanooga whiskey with Nick over at Fallout Comics. So
nice. So your Chattanooga whiskey story is you traded Chattanooga whiskey for another type of liquor. That's wonderful. Well done.
I'm going to fill this in. Once I finish this, I'm going to give him more Chattanooga whiskey that he hasn't had yet.
You're giving away the liquor that we're sponsoring to others.
No, people. I'm sharing it. I'm spreading the gospel.
Don't listen to Brendan. As obviously, there's something wrong with him. Hoard your Chattanooga whiskey like Bitcoin. Don't let it go. Shoot it down your throat hole. And when you're shooting it down your throat hole, instead of some other gross drink that Brendan has, what do I always say? Get drunk and sell your house. No better time to jump into the real estate market than when you're a little inebriated. And if you're going to do it, there's only one group to do it with, and that is
the Turner Group.
The Turner Group.
Too late. Chris beat you to it. It is the Turner Group. They are the specialists. They are the ones. They are the Lisan al-Gaib of the real estate game. Buy, sell, trade, lease, brothel, whatever you want to do with the domicile, the Turner Group can do it. They're based out of Central Florida, but their tendrils go across the state. They are the best. They are professional. You're going to get the service of like a niche, like very high-end small firm, but they're not small. Like I said, they're everywhere, and they're doing it big because they love you. Chattanooga whiskey, we love you. Turner Group, we love you. Get drunk, sell your house, tell them Noles 24/7 sent you. Whew. Love those ad reads. And I also love these 2025 Florida State Seminoles. Christopher Nee.
Yes, Trey.
You've seen some Florida State football. What has been your biggest surprise with this team this year? And where does this entire start rank in the realm of Florida State surprising starts for you?
Biggest surprise is that it's been so clean in the sense of new defensive system, new offensive system, and it's executed at a really, really high level with a massive test out of gate in Alabama. In comparison to other years, it's tough to find one because, traditionally, I've done a job for almost 25 years. I've been around the program for basically 32, 33 years now. Most of those years you expected to be good, or you had this feeling of like, this is a year you can compete, do really good things. Mm-hmm. 2013 Clemson's one of those moments where it went from like, this is good to this can be great. This team isn't yet there, but there was a degree of that elevated in the moment. There's a degree of with the Alabama game for me, it elevated in a moment because I didn't think FSU would win that game outside of maybe having some turnover luck and getting lucky in that game. And it wasn't luck. They beat the hell out of Alabama. Yeah, it's been fun. And after last year, it's so refreshing because last year was such a miserable experience in every way, shape, and form.
Truly, truly torturous. Adam, what about you? Of course, the first comment in the YouTube live chat is something saying you were right when everybody else was wrong. Surprise, surprise. I'm sure you didn't have anything to do with elevating that. You haven't made mention of that a couple times over the past few weeks. What were you surprised about? Obviously nothing, because you knew exactly what was going to happen. But has anything surprised you so far this season?
No, I mean, my win shares, I had him a perfect season, right? Didn't I? Didn't I have
I
that?
think so.
I thought I did.
12.
If not, then it was a glitch in the matrix. I don't know if anything's like necessarily surprise. Obviously, like as well as they're playing is the surprising factor. I think how well they're playing up front on the defensive side of the ball is really kind of shocking to me right now. And I mean, maybe not like we knew that Daryl Jackson had the potential to be good. We knew Daniel Lyons had the potential to be good. James Williams, who is maybe playing the worst football of the entire group right now, is, it's shocking how poorly he's playing, but you're still getting so much production out of that entire unit with the Desir brothers really taking college football by storm, Seminole fans especially. So I would say the defensive front has been a shocker for me. I didn't expect them to be as good as they've been, and they've really handled 2 games and one opponent in Alabama that was thought to be pretty special up front.
Anybody shocked that Tommy Castellanos is like the front runner on a lot of people's week 2 Heisman Trophy ballot? Is the quarterback play shocking to anybody that hasn't spoken yet?
Yes, because we could have envisioned Florida State getting off to a 2-0 start. While I don't think anyone here other than AB thought that was likely, it was possible, and you thought you were going to really ride the running attack to that if that was going to happen. And largely, like, that still was a huge part of it against Alabama. But before the season, like, one of the things I couldn't get on board with Tommy Castellanos was his accuracy numbers. And I'm not talking about just a completion percentage, but some like the nerdy advanced stuff, like the PFF tracks with it. He was among the worst, if not the worst, in college football over the last 2 seasons. And now 2 games into it, he's first nationally in adjusted completion percentage.
He's dropping dimes, dude. Nasty, hot, sweaty dimes on people. They're fantastic.
It's like 2 of the throws that he made against ETS, whatever, or ETAM.
We don't know. I thought that it's a fake school. It's South Harmon Institute of Technology, according to my prediction. Like, it's not real. Like, this is Bishop Sycamore situation. Either way, he dropped nukes on him.
And the title accepted can apply to being accepted in college and just being accepted, as come as you are. Anyway,
name, Brandon. Let's stick to it, bud. Anyway, how about Tommy?
He was dropping. Those 2 passes were extraordinary. And, like, I don't think anyone outside of Florida State circle had that on their bingo card of, like, Tommy Castellanos is going to be an exceptional passer. No. So yeah, that shocked the hell out of me. And it's been a really cool development through 2 games.
I think so too, especially when usually players are so much what they've shown you. And Tommy Castellanos has had a lot of snaps in college. This is really refreshing. I think him being bought into his role in the offense has been really, really refreshing, particularly in that Alabama game. Use the legs, pick up the tough yardage, don't take negatives, and make them pay when you can. I think it's been really great how well he's integrated into it. Kev, schematically, are you surprised at anything they've done schematically, but are you just surprised how quickly they've been able to pick up on all of the stuff these new coordinators have asked them to do, particularly Tony White, man? Like, that was a way quicker adjustment period than I expected. They played confident basically ever since the second drive of the Alabama game on.
Yeah, I mean, I think how they've slotted into a defense is entirely different from how it's hard to describe how different this defense is compared to Adam Fuller's defense. Adam Fuller's run a lot of middle of field open, cover for match concepts. So basically you always have a man, even their zone looks like man, right? You're locked onto someone. You've got rules for when you take them or take someone else, but you're playing man after 5 yards, essentially. This defense plays some man, but they throw in a lot of spot drop zone. They're playing a lot of, one high safety things. It's very different. They're varying up fronts a lot more. Adam Fuller just kind of ran even front all the time. So the fact that they've basically come in and installed an entirely new defense that has a lot of kind of variance to it to be honest, I want to sit down with Tony White and just learn how he installs this, because the fact that they were able to pick this up and not only pick it up, but pick it up and execute it well and execute it fast. You see like Blake Nicholson, someone who was guessing last year, just triggering. You have Earl Little Jr., a guy that we were writing off as done, as washed. Like, okay, he didn't start at Alabama. He came here. We thought he could be something, and he looked really bad last year. Now he looks like one of the best defenders in the country, coming downhill, playing hard. And that's been so impressive. How have they been able to install this defense that's so different from what they were doing last year, and not only install it, but get it to the point where they're executing this really quickly? I'd be very almost curious to see, like, what is the terminology they're using that allows people to learn this so fast?
More love for Kev's background. If you guys heard the pre-recording chat, you'd love that. Good call, Danny. Very, very nice, very somnambulate background. Zach, Kevin mentioned impressive. Who are some of the individual guys that have impressed you, Zach Blostein? You know all these players on this team. You've spoken to many of them individually. You know their recruiting pedigrees. Which guy's performance in 2025 has really just blown your socks off?
Yeah, I mean, Mekhi Danzy, I think, comes to mind on offense.
The instant touchdown man?
Yeah, all the touchdown play for Mekhi Danzy. Shout out to him. He got an Adidas steal today for his track and field accolades and all the records he's set so far. Yeah, I mean, as a recruit, this is a guy that came in as a running back, blue chip prospect. So not a surprise that he could become an impact player. But I mean, he wasn't like, we'd been hearing about him making some pretty impactful plays throughout camp, but I did not expect them to, be able to utilize him so effectively so early on in the season. I thought he'd be used, more sporadically, but I mean, it's pretty clear through 2 weeks he's a mainstay in this Gus Malzahn offense, and they're going to build upon a lot of the concepts they've run, especially the touchdown play they keep giving him the ball for. So yeah, I mean, he's been awesome. Then on defense, I mean, the Desir twins, covered them, watched them as high school recruits a number of times at Miami Norland, and I mean, they both looked the part physically in high school and shined on that Norland defense, which was, I think it was 2 years ago. It was one of the best, high school defenses. Jamari Howard was on that team, and those two stood out. But I mean, Mandrell Desir specifically, I mean, he turned himself from, I believe, was like a projected as like a middle linebacker, and then beefed up into becoming like a 3-tech. And I mean, he's been the fact that he has kind of like surpassed his brother, because that was kind of the thing is with those two as recruits. It's like Darryl was kind of considered the higher level prospects, but Mandrell's been more impactful early on, and that's not to discount what Darryl's done, because he's a true freshman. He's still playing really quality snaps and making some impactful plays. But yeah, I mean, those two guys on defense have been, I mean, surprising and impressive so far.
That kid so you said they looked the part in high school. 93, Mandrell Desir looked like that kind of sorta in high school, because he looks like a 23-year-old like redshirt. See, he's a thick kid.
Yeah, by the time they're high school seniors and they were getting ready to enroll at FSU, they had bulked up a good amount, and both were physically impressive. I thought it would take them a considerable amount of time longer to understand and get used to the college game, and have their bodies physically ready to go against a front like Alabama. And they showed they belong in week 1, and that was the thing that surprised me the most.
More than belonged in. Made Caden Proctor look like a bitch. Adam Brown, impressive players to you. Feel free to go deep cuts, anything. Who impressive guys to you?
Well, Earl's the first one, and that's not a deep cut. I was doing a little research on him today for a little thing I'm going to drop here soon. He's the.
Oops, sorry, I'm editing. I'll start editing it now. My bad.
He's top 25 nationally in PFF of all defensive players. So I mean, I think that's pretty telling. We did film review last night, and I said I thought he was one of the more impactful. No, I said he's one of the best defensive players in the country this year, and I mean, I fully believe that. The numbers seem to be supporting it. So I mean, I think the conversation's got to start there. And then I'm with Zach on Mekhi Danzy. Like, you could kind of sense that maybe there was some excitement around him within the program, and maybe with Gus specifically, what you could do with him from a trick play standpoint. They're making it a point to get him the ball there on the reverses, but then you see what he's going out there doing as a blocker too. Like, the effort's just great. I'm just going to give a shout out to Micah Pettis. I think that there was maybe some concern about what type of player you were going to get out of him. He's been flat out beast mode, like up front, just moves people. He's teabagging people left and right.
He does love a good nut slide, doesn't he?
I think he had three pancake blocks against Alabama. Like, that's a difference maker for you. You want to run the football. It's something they've severely lacked here in the last, gosh, how many years along the offensive line. I mean, just a guy that's a people mover up front. I loved the block by Adrian Medley on the 4th and 1 against Alabama. I mean, he drove his guy 4 yards off the ball, and they ran right behind him. So I'm going to shout him out. I mean, I just feel like you could shout everybody out. I mean, they're 2-0, and they're playing really well right now. Maybe if I had an absolute just like out of left field, I'm not going to take Brendan's because I feel like he's going to say Ashland Barker. So I'm going to let him have that one.
You could have maybe let him have it if you didn't say the
name.
Well,
he's looking at me. The
best part is that he was going to say it. I was thinking the exact same thing.
He's got his glass there. I wanted to make sure he knew all that I knew that he knew.
Okay. I'm actually reading your story right now. A Soundwave reference. So you're a Transformers. So you do fan fiction as well.
They didn't hear the pre-talk, Brendan. They didn't hear the pre.
You don't want to get into it right now. I mean, we might as well just talk about it, right, Trey?
You can, go ahead. I mean, I don't even know how to introduce this.
He's trying to put me on blast.
Sound blast.
Brandon, you don't want me to actually tell the people the story, do you?
I don't actually write Transformers. First off, the fan fiction thing was
okay. Wait, Zach, listen. He said, "Okay, we're gonna do a sidebar." So whatever, dude. This is what you guys pay us for. Zach, give them. Brendan made a statement to you. What he thought was fairly innocuous. Anybody with any sort of knowledge of the internet knows it's very heinous, very nefarious what this could mean. What was the exact sentence that Brendan said to you about his?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly the words he used, but I know that he told me at some point this offseason that he had been writing fan fiction of Transformers. I know he's a big Transformers fan. He's asked me before to go into a comic store to go get him a specific comic that I guess wasn't available like in his area because it had his favorite character on the cover. And I didn't know that it was being used for those heinous reasons. I mean, I don't even want to know what kind of inspiration he draws from those comics.
Now, Zach, what was your natural reaction when somebody say they're writing fan fiction of robot cars? What do you think of?
I mean, I don't like. I think most normal minds don't go there, right? That's so. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking the worst. I'm like, who is this guy?
I've got to quit. I've got to get a restraining order. Now, Brendan, I'm going to let you speak in your defense. Did you have any idea of the dire, evil, sexual connotations surrounding the term fan fiction? Were you aware of this?
I've heard of like erotic fan fiction, but I thought there had to be a qualifier.
Oh, there's like Walmart
to it,
fan
like
fiction,
you had to be described
the clean version.
But just and also cars have tailpipes. They have places for gas.
God.
Like I don't think any of this is crazy.
Dude, you're not beating the allegations, dog.
Oh my God.
You're talking about, well, they do have orifices. Like, listen, I'm going to speak of Brendan. I don't think there's a very good chance that he doesn't think of cars having sex with each other. I'm not, listen, I know him well. I don't live in Tallahassee, but I'm saying there's a pretty good chance he doesn't think about that.
Have you guys ever seen Unicron?
It's not. What is the Unicron?
Hang on.
Is he like the Peter North of the Transformers franchise?
He was voiced by in the movie. Who's Orson
All right,
Welles.
dude. Anyway, okay, Brendan. Let's talk about Ashlyn Barker. What are you? Ashlyn Barker is your most impressive player, right? So far, don't you want to talk about Ashlyn Barker?
Yeah, sure. We'll talk about Ashlyn Barker. He's been awesome this season, and the coolest thing to me is he was someone whose name started popping up a week or so into camp, sometime around the first and second scrimmage in that range.
Mm-hmm.
And we started hearing he was getting reps like as the fourth safety and starting to like jump ahead and get more and more at bats there. And it's okay, it was something to monitor. And then it started to become fairly clear towards that final week or so of camp that he had a really good chance to start. And it just didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me in the way it, like all the pieces fit. I thought maybe he'd be a really good backup rover, just the build, more kind of like a hybrid linebacker type of. And they've had him play different spots in the field. And like, while it hasn't been perfect, I thought the energy has been awesome. I think the physicality has been good. The closing speed's been really surprising. The length and like how he's able to disrupt passing lanes. Like it's been really, really good. I'm trying to not read the comments as well. And then, I was going to pull up the Unicron picture. I'm not. We're moving it forward here. We've already derailed everyone.
They didn't even. People think it's really normal, dude. Don't worry about it. Nobody even
trusts that. That's exactly what's happening. No, but it's been awesome. It's been a cool story. He played well in the final few games of last season. I don't think people wanted to believe it, like a healthy portion. But like, I'm back. The big picture thing that what you guys are talking about. There was a whole year where I was shook from the idea of players are allowed to get better just because the regression was so pronounced in 2024. And we just a little, and we have to get ourselves back in the mindset of like, okay, if you have competent coaches who all work well together and Mike's got his finger on the pulse and it all is making sense again. I feel like everything I'm saying could be misconstrued as sexual at this point too, by the way. So I'm being very careful in how I'm talking.
No. You're good. I think the thing getting back to your point is that it's not just what you said about Barker could be applied to other guys like Earl Little Jr., Blake Nicholson, Jabril Rawls, who I think was his performance against Alabama was so sick. Like just the physicality is what really surprised me. But these are guys who didn't really develop in 2024. They look like they missed a year. And in 2025, they don't look like they missed that year prior. They look like they were on track to what they should be in 2025. Like the disaster of 2024 didn't happen. I don't know if there's like a hyperbolic time chamber. Like, I don't know what happened, but those guys after looking a lot. Earl Little Jr. was unplayable at the beginning of the 2024 season. And now he's back on track. And to me, that's such a great calling card of these coaches. A lot of these coaches, not only some of the players we've written off a lot of the coaches. Chris, what to you has been the most impressive? We talk players. What has been the most impressive, performance of this coaching staff or the most impressive aspect of this coaching staff? There was a whole lot of new coordinators, a new role for the head guy, new position coaches. What has been the most impressive thing to you about this coaching staff and what they've done so far 2 games in?
I'll go with an aspect of it. It would be the clear and concise messaging and the ability to convert the messaging into something that you see on grass. And that goes back to, it starts with coordinators. Well, really, it starts with Mike Norvell at the top, understanding to hand things off to his coordinators, specifically Gus offensively. But Gus's ability to translate a relatively simple system. I know when you say that, like, neglects the idea of the ability for that system to hit. It is simple, but like 11 players have to do it for it to execute. And the ability to get 11 guys on the same page offensively has been ultra impressive, especially the offensive line, 4 new bodies in that group, not a whole lot of preseason together. That group has played really good football together. That's a credit to Herb Hand, Gus Malzahn, and others. And then defensively, entirely new system, actually a decent amount of returning players in comparison to the offense, where there's very few returning players. And you have Tony White instill this new idea, this new concept, 3-3-5, 4-2-5, a lot of different looks, a lot of different movement, a lot of different personal usage, going deep with basically 22 guys being essentially the ones you're going to lean on. And everybody plays hard. Everybody makes sort of a commitment to what their role is instead of I'm the starter or I'm the reserve. There's none of that. And I think that group's been really good. And, I think it was Kev earlier was talking about Yeah, it was Kevin. He was talking about Adams' defensive concepts with the back half versus what Tony demands, which is a lot of basically nuanced understanding of one another, handing things off, spacing correctly. And there's been moments where that hasn't been perfect in the first 2 games. But for it being the first 2 games of them doing that, it's been done at a pretty high level. And the thing that I like is when it doesn't work, there's still somebody there to clean it up. There's still an effort. Like, for example, some of the stuff that Bama was able to hit, mostly on like Quindarius Jones, for example, it felt like there was always somebody in the space to make the play after the play was allowed. It didn't turn into a bus that turned into points. So I think it's just a massive piece of credit to not only the coordinators, but Herb Hand. Tim Harris deserves a hat tip for how the receivers are blocking. I think Evan Cooper's ability to communicate with his safeties and kind of transform that group has been very impressive. And then T. Knight's done a phenomenal job with that D-line. Some of the technique stuff that D-line does, executes, especially some of those young guys, it's ultra impressive. There's been multiple moments through 2 games where I've basically slapped Sonone and been like, hey, watch what this guy did on this play, the way he stayed home. And it's not always perfect. We've had instances of contained field, but in general, there's been moments where it's like, man, you can see a guy that did it at the highest level is coaching that group, and it's translating to that group.
Yeah, they played a lot of games up front, man. They haven't – we'll talk about areas of growth or things that we're still kind of wary on a little bit later. They haven't got a real great traditional pass rush, but with a lot of the games, the stunts that they've been playing, with all the different positions Terrence Knight and Tony White have asked their defensive linemen to line up on, that's a lot to put on an offensive line. And you're kind of like, you've seen them short circuit the brains of some really talented offensive linemen and still get pressure on the quarterback without that real traditional bendy, explosive, edge rushing guy to emerge. There is still not that guy yet, but they've done it as a collective effort that's been impressive. My most impressive thing about this coaching staff, and I guess I'm going to give it to Mike as the head man, is the mentality that these guys play with. They have an edge. They have a focus. They are professional. They are there to take care of business. And the effort and the buy-in, man, from what we saw last year, unreal, dude. I was saying at the end of the ET State Tech and whatever fake school game, I thought the most dangerous aspect of this entire team might be their mentality, because that is a really tough mentality to cultivate in a group of 18 to 22-year-old kids, most of them playing with each other, like together for the first time. I think that's really impressive. And I got to give massive hat tip to the coaches. Kev, we talked about a lot of the good stuff, a lot of the things that we've known, impressive things. What do you still think are some big areas of growth for Florida State on either side of the football for you? Things that you still, we maybe don't know if it's a complete product yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can point to a couple of things where I mean, we even put out a film review this morning titled something along the lines of like, we blew them out, but there's still room for growth, right? So, I would point initially to the tight ends. I think with Randy Pittman out, there were some growing pains early. Amari Williams missed a block, I think, on the first play. You don't quite know where you're getting out of Landon Thomas right now. And so kind of the depth of that tight end room, kind of getting those younger guys to step up and be contributors. This offense asks a lot of tight ends. And so that, they don't have to necessarily be elite in any way, but they're going to have to do a lot of different things, jack of all trades kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And if, you're not getting 100% out of Pittman or for however long he's out, that's going to be a question mark. Secondary to that, I would say the linebackers in pass coverage are something to watch out for. They're triggering really well in the run game, but when they see pass, are they closing up that kind of intermediate zone that Alabama was able to hit? When you play a team like Miami in a couple of weeks, their run game is going to be effective. Those linebackers are going to have to come downhill, but they're going to try to hit that intermediate zone behind those linebackers off play action. And they're going to probably be the best team on your schedule at doing that. Can you get your linebackers to recognize pass, get back, and really help those safeties bridge that gap, that intermediate between the linebackers and safeties? You didn't see that as much with Alabama, but I think that's something they can work on, and I think that's something that was probably flagged as a growing opportunity.
Brendan, same question to you. things that you still have some questions about, or just maybe even areas of improvement for this 2-0 top 10 Florida State football team. Still sounds so weird to say.
So Kev's point, I think I agreed. Like, there's things to clean up. Tight end he mentioned, and that was one thing, especially with Randy Pittman out. Like, on the macro level, I don't even know if I want to call it a concern, but with the idea, Trey, of saying 2-0 is feels weird. I asked the CBS research team to look this up earlier. Florida State is the first team since, I think it was 1971, 1972 seasons, since UCLA to have 2 wins or fewer, and then the next season by September be ranked in the top 10. Like, so what we're seeing is just yet another unprecedented.
Throw it in the list, dude. The roller coaster, bro.
It's taking us on. And so my eyes tell me, like, okay, this is real, right? Like the performance against Alabama was real. And then what you did against directional East Texas and formerly Commerce, no offense, Jim Curry, was super impressive, but it was also a team that was ranked like 300th nationally, like out of every single school. So there are caveats I'll throw in there. It was the first game against Alabama. I want to see how sustainable this is. I want to see how engaged this team remains. If inevitably a loss occurs, how do you respond to that? How do the coaches all being new together? Like there's these don't know and can't really fall back on, I guess, from a pattern recognition standpoint. With that being said, like everything's been answered with flying colors so far. So my concern's been lessened, but it is an unknown still because this is uncharted territory.
Very much so. Adam, what about you? Anything to add to what Brendan and Kev said? Anything that you're still looking for this team to do? Which it's hard to say after game 1 and 2, but.
I agree with Kev on the tight ends. I was worried about what we saw, especially with that Randy Pittman in there. But I talked about Micah Pettis. Randy Pittman was another player who had 2 very impactful pancake blocks in that football game that helped beat Alabama. I think that the newest or the biggest concern that I have is Edwin Joseph. I don't think it's a guy that many people probably talked about, but if you watched him in the Bama game, he looked very uncomfortable as a forcer and as a guy being asked to kind of come up and force the run, but also get back and try to drop in some of these different zones. I just think that's an area where, and it happened against ETA or ET, whatever, East Texas A&M.
Yeah.
It happened against them as well.
Extraterrestrial.
The amount of disrespect that we have shown to this poor school. Chris, how much?
77-3, man. Like, just take a check.
From Jim Curry. That's all I'm telling you.
But they, Edwin got turned around a few times in that game as well. These are just, these are small details that against a Miami, and that's who I'm kind of grading them against at this point. Against a Miami that are going to get you beat. So that's an area, well, just on film specifically, where I have concerns about, again, him against a Malachi Toney or a JoJo Trader or whatever, and matching up with a Carson Beck as a thrower. We saw the kid from Bama have opportunities in the passing game and not be able to connect with them. Carson Beck's going to, and Miami's and other teams on your schedule are going to find those same opportunities through film study, and they're going to attack those areas, and you've got to get it tightened up.
Well said. A lot of talk about the other teams so far on Florida State's schedule. A lot of fun things, in my opinion, have happened with Florida State's schedule. We have mentioned the aforementioned of the Florida Gators. Dude, that's so stupid. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Anyway, we saw that. Clemson has looked like Transformer butthole tailpipe. Like they're tired. They don't look that good either. While also some of the teams we thought were maybe going to be some flotsam, like Virginia's looked a little bit better than I thought. NC State has showed some signs of life. Zach, what do you think overall of Florida State's schedule with 10 games left? Is it still kind of what you thought it was? Is it easier? Is it tougher? And now who do you think is the toughest opponent left for FSU?
Yeah, I think as a whole, I think a lot of my thinking of the schedule is like it's warped because of what FSU's done. But if you're speaking strictly from what those other teams have showed so far. I mean, to me, FSU can compete with anyone on its schedule.
Yep.
Through 2 weeks, that seems pretty clear. I mean, a lot can change, right? Like, as we get deeper in the season, these teams look vastly different from how they do now. But I think recalibrating, the toughness scale. I did this before the season, and I ranked Clemson as the toughest game on the schedule. I think most of us probably would have. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they were down 16-0 to Troy, late in the second quarter of their, most recent game, and came back and, won by 2 scores. And then obviously only scored 10 points in their opener against LSU. So they're going to have to show a lot moving forward, and they have a big test this weekend against Georgia Tech. That'll be a good, litmus test to see how serious that team is, Clemson's team is when it comes to ACC play. But I mean, for me, it's the Miami game. I mean, Miami's shown that.
Surprise, Zach. Knew you'd say that, right?
I mean, I think it's pretty clear. I mean, unless Florida obviously does not look good. They had that horrible loss, and they have the crazy stretch of games coming up. So we'll see. But I mean, Miami looks legit. Like, their D line looks dominant. The O line looks solid, and they developed the biggest question mark I had for them. I think I wrote this was that receiving core, because they lost like their top 5 or 6 producers from last year, and that pretty good there's really good offense that they ran, and they've had some guys step up like Malachi Toney, the true freshman. So to me, it's the Miami game. You do get them at home, so I do think that's it brings the scale down a little bit in your favor, but I do think that's the toughest remaining game.
Kev, I'll be honest with you, anytime Miami's mentioned, the team down south, I'm going to talk with you next, because most people don't know from your calm, cool, collected demeanor how much you despise them. So I'm going to ask that same question to you. And are you going to say that Miami is Florida State's toughest game left, despite it offending every cell in your body to a molecular level?
I think we're given a lot of credit for being a Notre Dame team.
Hell yes. I knew you were going to say this. Hell yes.
Realistically don't know how good they are. I mean, the past 2 years, Notre Dame, I guess now 3, Notre Dame's just dropped a stinker to some really small school.
Like Miami? That's what they did this year.
Oh, what? They've got like 12, 13 undergrads. So, it is a small school, NIU might actually have more. NIU undergrad, it doesn't matter, right? Undergraduate.
I love, and then this is the
population. There you go. 11,000. Miami, 12,000. They're very similarly sized schools.
Yeah,
so
same
it makes
pedigree.
A lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think anybody was like, NIU top 5 team, blah blah blah. Last year, so I'm not too sold on them. Carson Beck can see both sides of the field at the same time. That's an advantage for them. Something you have to worry about. They can run 2-sided concepts simultaneously.
Kevin's doing this all wrong. Like, he needs to hype up Miami and act like he's a little afraid, so that way.
No, dude, no.
I can't do that,
brother. You don't get it. You don't get it.
Oh no, man! I've been out with him. Like, I saw Florida. I can't remember who they beat. He punched a brick wall. I saw him punch a brick wall. I saw Kev.
I love angry Kev.
I can't.
Look at the core of that room he's in. You just don't expect it.
It's my lair. My hating Miami lair. No, I'll go against the grain. I'm going to say I'm more worried about Clemson.
What about Clemson still it's still obviously a historically tough environment, veteran team. They've looked bad. They can get it together. What do you think about Clemson? Still worries you a little bit more than that overrated soft Miami team that you despise.
No, I think if we're being realistic, I think home field advantage does. I saw something the other day that was like, home field advantage is actually more predictive in college football games than talent differential, and at least Power 4 games. So I thought that was kind of interesting, take it for what it's worth. But I think going to Clemson, I think Clemson's going to have a really stout run defense. I think they're going to take away what you do. And you're, again, relying on Tommy Castellanos to hit one or two of those shots to really break open their defense. Otherwise, you might have trouble moving the ball, scoring points on Clemson. And then if that happens to be the case, if you cannot get points on the board, well, now you're challenging Clemson to a pound, like just a very physical game, which over the course of 4 quarters in a road environment probably doesn't favor you. So I do think Clemson's not going to be a pushover. I'm not too worried about Cade Klubnik throwing the ball over you. But I am worried about that defense. I am worried about if you have a Gus Malzahn offense and you stall, how long can that defense hold up against a physical team? That's where I see, I realistically, I still think you might end up with a couple losses on this season. So I think there's a really good football team, but they're real games. Florida isn't bad. I mean, they're not great, but they tend to get better as the season goes on. Miami tends to get worse as the season goes on. I think Clemson is my biggest concern. Although, Miami could very well come in and punch you in the mouth, but I'll never admit it.
That's why I love you. Chris, you are the keeper of the 2-4-7, our opponent stats and previous years, which is always wonderful every week. Some of the stuff you pull out of there, chef's kiss, my brother. It's good stuff. What do you think, dude? I know you're looking ahead. You watched ETAM before we played them. I know you're scouting ahead the rest of these teams. Who do you have locked in as Florida State's toughest game now, based on 2 weeks of results?
I like Kev's analysis of Clemson because I agree with it. I do think Clemson's defense is still stout, and I do think it's going to give FSU some trouble. And obviously, going to play there is not an easy task. I'm with Zach a little bit on Miami. I'm not all in on Miami like Zach is because he can't hide it. But I do think Miami's defense has been more organized than they were a season ago.
They do look better.
I do think their O-line and their D-line are very capable, good units. I do think Carson Beck is a sound quarterback, though I've always been a little skeptical if they have to have it in the last moments. How will he deliver? He's had a mixed bag in his career with that, with some very good moments and some less than great moments. The truthfully, where my mind was going in this discussion when you guys were talking was who's a sleeper, like who's one that can sneak up. I think Clemson, Miami are the two most concerning. I still think Florida's the third because Florida's still a talented football team despite losing to this dyslexic FSU. Virginia and Pitt are the two that intrigue me. I haven't watched Pitt much this year yet, but I do like that team on paper. I have watched Virginia, and quarterback's plenty capable. Like, they are capable of hanging with you and making it a game if you allow them to make it a game. The biggest thing with Virginia is their depth isn't very good. But to answer your base question, I think I would go with Miami ever so slightly over Clemson, though I think Clemson's defensive unit is the best unit of any team that FSU is going to face down the stretch.
Well said. The games that we counted off as like not auto wins, but like greater than 50-50s, like the Virginias, the Stanfords, they got the Wakes. Do we feel like the average level of Florida State's like difficulty, like their opponents are better, with Virginia looking like they have a little bit more life? Like, do you guys feel that those games are less gimmies than they were, or are you not worried about it as much with how well Florida State's played week 1 and week 2? Adam, what do you think about that? Like, what do you think about the relative difficulty of the FSU schedule compared to what you saw before we started playing?
I don't think it's changed a whole lot, in my opinion. I know Virginia seems to be playing better, but I think the bubble will burst on them at some point. I'm not sure that they've gone out and played a great schedule here early, even though they have looked more. Certainly looked improved. And you get them coming off of Kent State, so you should be fairly healthy going to. Should be, knock on wood and all those things. Throw some salt on my shoulder. Should be fairly healthy going into that game, and somewhat fresh coming off of Kent State, who may be worse than ETAM. Yeah. No, you should.
They are more talented. They have players that should be at the D1 level more so. They play less aggressively than.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, I did watch them play. They look. I think they
All
look
right,
great,
give me 74 points.
I think Kent State game will be lower.
What are we doing?
Than 70. Yeah, than like 77. Well,
so I don't think Virginia's a lot better. The NC State, that game always scares the hell out of me up there. It's gonna. I'm sure the fair is going to be going on. That game will just always give me nightmares. So that's the one where I'm like, oh, just survive that one.
Is NC State? Is it fair to say NC State's the most like you don't know what the hell they're going to be series to series type of football team that FSU plays?
Feels that way. It feels that way, and it also feels like this has been the classic NC State start this season. It's messy, it's ugly, it's scary. They look like garbage, but they're another team that kind of improves as the year goes on.
Dave Doran, the most tenured coach in the ACC.
Which is
Wow.
insane.
I hope to think about.
I did. That place is just
9-4 master.
It's built on some sort of graveyard. Like there's voodoo. There's voodoo in that place. Like the fat ginger kid from 2012 comes back. Like I don't like if you've been a Florida State fan since the days of like Torrey Holt, you hate NC State, dude. It's not fun. It's not fun.
I know Stanford is absolutely, just horrible. They're
poop. Yep, they're poop.
But you're still going out there and playing. You're still going across the country and playing them at 7:00 start at 10. 10
it's 10:30 Eastern
time. Wake is pretty awful. VT is awful offensively.
Stay tuned for that instant reaction, Knowles 24/7 subscribers. Maybe in a mood for that one.
Hey, coming to you live from Kev's room at 3 a.m.
The dungeon. A quick point. I'll try to make it as quick as possible. One of in the pantheon of things we don't know is like how teams react once a coach is on the hot seat or they check out. All these mercenary. We just don't know. So like the variables once you get past mid-October. So
a lot of procedures, a lot of time sitting out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that's a good point, Brendan.
Not take the old NFL adage, but when you get 3 to 4 games of film of a team, the ability to plan for that team improves dramatically, especially a team like FSU where offensively it's all new pieces and new scheme. So when you have those 3-4 games, you have a pretty good picture of who and what they are and what they're trying to do and what they go to in certain situations and things of that sort. Now the goal for FSU will be to change the picture on you and throw something different game plan wise. But I think it will be interesting to watch sort of the back and forth of how teams, FSU being one of those teams and their opponent being the other, kind of combat one another in those regards.
I think you're right. We talked a lot about the teams we still have left to play, what Florida State's done, how our mindset on this team is different. Now we're going to put some numbers to it that people can hold us to, I'm sure. Because if you thought preseason record prediction, we're going to make you do it all over again. Don't think of the scars of last year of how wrong we all got it. Zach, I want you to tell me, based on all this lovely conversation that we've had, and I'm going to ask another question following it that plays off of it for the people. Teaser. What was your original record prediction for Florida State, and what is it now after 2-0?
Yeah, my original was 7-5, and now it is 10-2.
A strong 10-2, a confident 10-2.
Oh, I was between 9-3 and 10-2, but I think that just what they've shown, not even just like the plays they're making on the field. It's just the like you brought this up earlier, like what's impressed us the most. It's like their maturity and the mindset, to go in and take a game like they just played seriously. Every unit that's stepping on the field, taking it seriously, like that gives me a lot of confidence. That's kind of what I was looking for from them against a really bad opponent. Was if they're going to sleepwalk or are they going to take it seriously? And you look across the country and you just don't see a lot of teams that did that or that do that consistently. I mean, we'll see. Obviously they have another game like that coming up after the bye. But yeah, I mean that's what I guess, push me to the 10-win mark over 9-3.
Adam, what about you? Same question.
I think I'm the same. I think I was at 7-5. I think I'm going with 10-2. I don't know if I'm half a surefire like who those two losses are. I think that Clemson game is going to be really tough, and then the obvious ones are either Miami or Florida, and I'm not sure which one of those I feel better about. Clemson's going to be a tough game on the road, though. But I think 10-2 is a safe place to be. But I will say I think you're more than likely to be 11-1 than 9-3 right now too.
Ooh, that gets my juices flowing. I like that. Kev, what say you? Originally,
I believe I was originally 9 wins.
I was 11 wins. I've got to tamp it down. Ooh,
yeah. So
now win shares don't equal.
I did call
Yeah.
Alabama upset. I was the only one that called it.
He also had the lowest of everyone's win shares too. So
yeah, at 9 wins. So I'm gonna up that. All the podcast listeners, you'll never know the truth. I'm gonna up that to. Let's go. Let's ride it. Let's ride it. Let's send it. Let's go 11.
Whoa.
I love it,
Let's
dude.
send
I
it.
love it.
11-1.
Hold on. You can't full send it and say 11. You either send it and you go 12, or you just don't send it.
Oh, dude,
I'm
you're
not
being
shooting the moon.
accused of only
We're
not
gonna
sending
send
it enough.
11.
Damn it, AB. We only had 2 last year. Let us have our fun.
You know what? You're right, AB. Let's go undefeated. Let's do
Thank
it.
you, Kev. God darn it.
You guys are.
Man.
Please,
How much
please,
does
someone
Florida
clip
State win
this
the
and
Natty
then
by?
check me if they don't. But I'll be the guy because I already called Alabama upset, so I'm gonna go 12-0.
This is sick, dude.
I'm going to clip you again about
Chris,
Miami as well.
Chris, let's keep the vibes going, brother. Keep the vibes. What do we got?
I was 8-4. If you look at the win share roundup, it's 8 because it was like 7.6 or something like that. So and I did say 8-4 in the other piece that Zach did. I mean, I'm a chicken shit, so I'm going to go 10-2. I legitimately think there's not a ceiling with this team. This team's allowed to go win every game they play. They are capable of beating anybody and everybody on their schedule, but they have to stay healthy throughout the year to achieve that too, and that's a big ask.
True, absolutely. They play physical football, so I'm with you on that. Brendan, what say you?
Shit if I know, man. I don't know. 10 sounds right. I don't know. I don't know how many times I have to tell you people I don't know. Feel so much shame that my algorithm for ads has McDonald's chicken nuggets though on here. How do they know?
Well said. Well said. So we all think this is going to be if they do what we think they're going to do 2 weeks into the season, barring massive catastrophic injury, all that, whatever, dude. You get the caveats. This is a season where Mike Norvell is ahead of what we thought he was going to be. This is a season, let's just say for the sake of conversation, they do go 10-2. We had a lot of talk before the season, ultimately, of what we thought this was going to be and how that would lead to the overall tenure of the head man, the $10 million man, Mike Norvell. And a lot of it was not positive because we didn't expect a great season. We expected 7, maybe 8 from a few. We're looking at 10. Nobody said less than 10, really. Chris, how does that change the long-term outlook of the program? How does that change the long-term outlook of the head guy? Like, what all does it affect? Like, with the Alabama game having such an outsized impact with that new stadium, the fan base was rejuvenated. Battle's End is sending out like texts for donations after the game. Like, again, everybody's feeling themselves. What do you think, man? If this is a 10-win season, what are the ramifications for Mike Norvell and Florida State as a whole?
FSU is saving a lot of money, and there's not an overbudding concern of having to move on from him or feel like you're entering a season where that may be the outcome. It buys them time without a shadow of a doubt. I think the bigger picture item I'm looking at is the recruiting portion of it. Do they fester a bump of some sort with success? They kind of failed to do so with 13-0 a couple years ago, disappointingly. I think they understand that they failed to do that a couple years ago. It will be interesting to see how they close out from a high school recruiting portion, which is obviously Zach's department more so than mine. And then transfer portal, they're going to have a lot of pieces to replace again because they have a lot of upperclassmen, veteran guys on this bunch. That's a place where they're going to have to hit again. Next year's schedule does them no favors. That's a very, very tough schedule once again, and that lines up. But from like a long-term perspective, job security, all that, ultra safe. I think the minute the Alabama game ended and you understood that he had built a football team that was going to be competent and competitive and play with a great deal of effort and be physical, that conversation ended at that moment.
Zach, the recruiting aspect. Do you think Florida State has not been able to sell past success in the Mike Norvell era on the field that well? Obviously, extenuating factors like the snub and other things like that. They did show signs of life in the close after 2-10, which was nuts. Do you think if caveat, whatever, trademark, if they go 10-2 this year or better, is this new look staff going to be able to sell it, in your opinion, on the trail?
So complicated answer in my opinion. So here's the difference. So with Florida State, and we talk about how they didn't capitalize on in that 2023 season on the recruiting trail, kind of had some high profile names committed or almost committed at the end and weren't able to close them. You remember the expectations for FSU that season were extremely high. They came off a 10-win season. So you had that juice built into what that class could be. And it's a little bit different this year for a number of reasons. Obviously, because of what last season was, FSU did not have that juice on the trail. They have a respectable class that's still top 13 right now in the country. They don't have that foundation to have a top 10-ish class. It could get there if they pull some impressive flips down the stretch. But yeah, I mean, if they hit the 10-win mark, they'll have an opportunity to be able to do that. Another thing that's different this year is so many recruits have made their decisions already, more so than ever before in the 20s. In the senior class, the 2026 class, it's somewhere in the high 90% of the top 300 players have already committed to their program of choice. So it's any guys they're getting on campus, for the most part, it's all flip targets. They have to flip them from another school. So yeah, I mean there's some challenges to it, but I do when you look at the changes they made to the staff this offseason, I do like a number of those new position coaches when it comes to their ability on the trail compared to what you had in those places beforehand, before you made those changes. So I think they have the capability of doing it, of pulling off some late flips with momentum on the field this season. But I mean, I still got to see it, right? It's one of those things that Mike Norvell hasn't done super effectively to this point. You mentioned the run they had last year, after 2-10, that was encouraging, but I mean, we got to see it. I'm hopeful that they have, the right staff in place or a better staff in place to be able to capitalize. But yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen because of the challenges that I brought up.
Does anybody think that this season, with just kind of how college football's changing, Florida State's always a premier brand. They always bring eyeballs. The real story behind everything is conference realignment and what the next phase of college football looks like. Does anybody want to comment on how maybe this season, what they did, slaying the SEC giant, maybe putting the knife in the Alabama dynasty in front of 11 million people? Do you guys think that this is the type of season that Florida State needed to cement their place as being a continual power player in the next era of college football? Or does anybody think that FSU's place in participating in that next era of college football, the super conferences, whatever the playoff is going to look like, do you think that that's still in jeopardy? Anybody? Just an open question.
I don't think it's ever been in jeopardy. FSU as a brand is about as strong as it comes. when you're looking at the programs that are not in the SEC and not in the Big Ten who have value to those two conferences, FSU is way up that list and always has been way up that list. There's very few that are comparable. I think Notre Dame comes to mind immediately. Clemson's another one that I'm willing to throw in there. There's not a whole lot of other ones. Do I think what have you done for me lately matters? Yeah, it always does. But FSU, even last year as a 2-10 brand, still had that brand value. And ultimately, one would hope those making the decisions to build super leagues are, investing in things that have had lasting power versus what have you done the last 12 months or even the last 36 months. It's more so what have you been this most recent decade? What do you appear to be making the effort to be long term? FSU's always shown that they want to be at the forefront of college football.
I mean, how many teams can be a 2-win team one season, the next season be 2-0 and be a top 10 team? That tells you there's a brand expectation. I mean, you're also carrying Alabama's brand expectations on that a little bit, but I mean, still, if a team up, like we can go back to NIU, like they were 2-0, they beat Notre Dame, they weren't jumping in the top 10, right? Like,
look what USF's done, Kev. Look how they've had to claw their way for a
USF
top
has
back
2
into
ranked
the
wins.
top 20. Yeah,
and they're barely peaking at 18. Like it goes to show the difference in kind of where the brand is and what the expectation is for Florida State.
Just gotta
It
have
feels like
those
some of
letters in
this
the right
would
order.
be. It feels like some of this would be helpful in. I agree with Chris. I don't think Florida State was going anywhere, but like the negotiation aspect of it and having a little bit more oomph to if there's a bidding war or if someone's trying to strong arm you and be like, well, maybe you get 50% of revenue for the first couple of years. Like I feel like that's where you can kind of point to the TV numbers, the attendance, the things that are all coming from this season, and just you allow yourself to operate and negotiate with a little extra heft behind it. And I think that's going to be really valuable.
Yeah, what Brendan's saying is Michael Alford sitting at the table and they're like, we're going to give you a half share. And he goes, but baby, Rutgers is in your conference. We're getting a full share.
I think that's exactly how it would go too.
I think another thing too with like the influence that this season like this brings. I mean, look how much money they just poured into upgrading the stadium and the facilities for this football team. I mean, it couldn't come at a better time.
Oh man,
to have a performance. Yeah, it was it was necessary, but it was not expected.
How good this all has gone for them when the what could have been was staring its eye right at you could have been catastrophic. It could have been planet engulfing robot bad, but instead
it's really bad, dude. That's so bad. It's so terrifying.
It's really bad.
It's better. Well,
Dirty.
I think that's the only way that I can end this podcast, and I'm going to end it with Adam. I'm going to ask you the most important question of the night. Adam,
brother,
what should be the title of Brendan's fan fiction robot car illicit story?
Jesus,
I've got one.
I'm terrible at it. I'm terrible at this stuff.
Transformers: Dark Side of the Poon. And with that, that's the Knowles 24/7 Week 3 by Roundtable. I'm Trey Rowland, Adam Brown, Brendan Sonnone, Zach Blostein, Kevin Little, hates Miami still to this day, and the venerable Chris Nee. I'm Trey Rowland. We talked about everything that you thought we'd talk about and a whole lot more. Welcome to Knowles 24/7, baby. Chattanooga whiskey, drank it, you're home, sell it. With the Turner Group, Knowles 24/7, subscribe to it. Now, 10 more games left. Whole lot of scoop and juice for you on them boards and camaraderie. For all my colleagues and myself, we love you. We will see you on the boards. And who knows, maybe we'll do this again some other time. Got to subscribe to the YouTube so you can see it live. I love you. Thank you. And keep chopping. Good job, producer.